David, we hope you're getting your heavenly high.
My impression. Now you might not agree, but some people kind of get that feeling.
They wrote about it in the book that he saw as a
And I said to him, just a few years ago, I said, you know, David, I said, people don't realize this, but the Ramones imitated you. You know, the quick delivery, the short, brief thing, and the kind of, you know, the punky accent, and, you know, and I just think that without David Peel, really, we wouldn't have had the Ramones.
That's a fact, because I was with Mickey last week.
Mickey Lane?
Ramone's brother.
Yeah.
And he told us that's exactly, they were very influenced by him.
They admitted.
When Joey was younger and Mickey was younger, David Peel used to give them flyers to hand out to people to promote himself, David Peel. And that's how they met him, you know. And then as the time went on, the music was 100% influence to the
Amazing.
Ramones.
Thank you, Elliot. Wow. Proof positive. We just proved that.
It's cool enough to wear sunglasses inside, so I'm going to join you all right now. David Peel. My name is Pat Byrne. I played with the Lower East Side off and on throughout the years. And I want to say that David Peel is, was, and will always be the king of punk.
Right on.
He will take that with him to the next level. He was punk before punk. He encouraged other people to be punk. He produced and released G.G. Allen's first record and best record, right? Forget about that. He's singing backups on his songs on that album. It's amazing. This guy, I mean, I met him on the corner right across the street, the entrance of Tompkins Square Park. I was 18 years old. He was screaming and singing "Die Yuppie Scum," and I said, this guy gets it. I said, I'm with him, and I would just start hanging out with him, and it was liberating. It was amazing. I don't know why, but in the last year of his life, I got back in touch with him. I do a radio show. I invited him to come on it, and we were back. I was back in that pocket, right with David Peel. I was on back on his email list, back on his text list, and I loved it. I don't know what made me want to do it, but I reached back out to him. I think Hozak Records reissued King of Punk, and I had him on to promote it, and I'm so thankful. I'm so thankful that in the last year of his life, I got to be back in touch with David Peel, and the last text he sent me, was telling me that Chuck Berry had died. And he said to me, Chuck Berry had passed, hail, hail, rock and roll. And I wrote back to him what he always would say to me, which was rock and roll forever, and forever, rock and roll. Rest in peace, David.
Truck during the subway. That's all. Yeah. Okay. No, you got to be straight on that, John. Yeah. Okay. So one day I'm at Canal Street. I close the doors. I'm going to close the front section, and I see somebody walk past me. So I open up. There's Dave Peel. He turns around and looks at me. You still remember me? I says, of course. We talked for about 2 minutes, and my motorman's pissed off. What are you doing back there? Why didn't the doors close? But eventually, we said hello and goodbye and everything, and closed down. And that was my recent encounter about 3-4 years ago. at Canal Street. Okay, thank you.
Through the Howard Stern show because I was a big fan and I'd hear him do the Governor's song, and so I said, I gotta look this guy up. And believe it or not, he was listed in the phone book. And there's 2 David Peels listed, one with a 212 number and one with a P.O. box. I said, knowing that he was selling everything on the air, I said, this guy, that's gotta be the guy. I called him up, it didn't sound like him at first when I got him on the phone. I said, hello, is this David? He goes, speaking. I'm like, that's the guy. I said, David, big fan, big fan. I heard you on the Howard Stern show. He goes, you heard that? I said, everyone heard that, man. Are you kidding me? We arranged to meet. I played with a little-known band that you don't even care about at this point, but I brought him one of my CDs. He sold me one of his CDs. He actually came to see us play at Kenny's Castaway, CBGB's. We stayed in touch over the years. He sent me a 4-page letter once when I was asking if he wanted to go upstate New York and play some college shows in Albany. It was more of a lecture on how to arrange college shows. I don't know where the letter is. I hope to dig it up. But my favorite memory of David Peel was one day. It was the anniversary of John Lennon's passing. They always have that big vigil up at Strawberry Fields. And I'm walking in, and he's walking out. And I said, David, how you doing? Of course, he didn't recognize me. Every time I met him, I had to reintroduce myself again and again and again. Not very memorable, I guess. But anyway, I said, listen, when we get done, there's an Irish bar on the west side I'd love to take you to for a beer. He says, okay. I went in, hung out for about 20 minutes, came out, he's still waiting there. I said, David, let's go. Walk into the bar. And when I walk in, I try to make as little bit of a splash as possible. Just want to go in and have a beer or a shot, and that's basically it. Not David. We walk in, and immediately when I walk in, I say, this is my friend David. I met him through radio. I figured I didn't want to, make a big celebrity entrance. And about 4 or 5 heads turn around, they're looking at him, and finally, we're halfway through our first beer, and the guy at the back of the bar goes, are you David Peel? And boy, did he light up. Yes, I am! He starts whipping out photos of him and John Lennon. There was about 7 or 8 girls in this bar. One of them was having a 25th birthday party. And it was actually kind of funny because there were guys hitting on him left and right. They weren't buying it. At one point I said, David, are you going to be okay if I hit to the men's room? I'll be right back. He says, yeah, sure. I go to the men's room, I come back. By the time I come back, he's got all 8 girls dancing to Instant Karma on the jukebox. I look at the bartender, Tommy's from Ireland, he looks at me and goes, only you can bring this guy here. And needless to say, we got into a cab at around 3 in the morning. I made sure he got back home, but wherever you are, David, save the next beer for me.
The song was the Pataki song, right? On Howard Stern, it was the Pataki song.
Yeah, Howard Stern forgot.
It was the Pataki song.
Time for a laugh, if I may. Very close to here, down the street from where David lived.
Yeah.
On the corner there was I think this was probably 67, a Chinese restaurant.
Could you get over by the light?
Okay. A Chinese restaurant called Ning Po. All of us, after playing in the park, passing the hat around, we just, okay, let's go eat. So we go to the Chinese restaurant. And this happened right down the street over here. We're all in there, we're paying for it. Once the money's on the table, we leave, David's still in there. And we talk about picking up the tab, and yes, and we thank the tourists for the money. And we sold the banana grass, and we're in there, and David hasn't come out. So where's David? All of a sudden, we see David running out. He looked like the FTT florist guy, running down the street, his scarf flying, and running after him is a Chinese cook with a meat cleaver. And that's when we realized the tip was missing. Hey, in those days it was tough. So I remember that story. It was freezing cold, and I never saw David run so fast. I figured I'd share that. So if I can get another amen. I know there's some more out there. Step right up. Introduce yourself.
My name is Guy Ward, NYC Live Rock. I don't know if you people know. So
Too early. Too early. 73. Anyway, 74? Oh, okay.
No, it all depends on which you read. Hold on, that's fake news. They keep
That
getting
was-
it backwards, right?
That was my
It's the media.
exposure to David
Sorry.
Peel. Thank you. God bless you, brother. The New York City music scene for the last 30 or 40 years, and I have so many David Peel stories. I think the first thing I'd like to say, if it hasn't been said yet, is that David Peel will be going down in history at least as a footnote in every major music book, and people are going to be studying him in the future. The one thing that I know about David Peel was, first, when his album came out, and I had gone out and bought Jimi Hendrix, I went out and bought the Beatles, sorry, and then all of a sudden, Have a Marijuana came out, and it wasn't professionally recorded. It sounded like it was recorded right off the street in the middle of a protest. I know it was. And what an influence. I mean, just to sit there and to think that you could do something like that and get it out there. More importantly was that I don't care whether it was a black rights, women rights, whether it was whatever the political strike or opposition was, you can always count on David Peel being there. And he was like a rock. I mean, if he wasn't there, then it wasn't really a real demonstration as far as we were concerned. Whether it be Washington or anywhere, and I guarantee, wherever you go, and when you look on the clips, whether it's Martin Luther King or whoever it is, you listen long enough and he'll be up there playing. So I wanted to make that point out because he will be remembered. And unfortunately, it won't be until every maybe couple of 100 or 1,000 years when a grad student decides that they're going to do some research on New York City at this particular time period. And then they'll discover David Peel, and he'll be back up in lights again. The same way when we go to museums and suddenly they rediscover some old Dutch artist that no one had listened to before, but now because that particular generation is doing something similar, and then they'll look back and they'll find David Peel. Just like with rap, you know, all of a sudden it's the what were they called? The black poets, the last poets. I remember when I first heard that album. Suddenly, rap came out. All of a sudden, they discovered the album by the Last Poets, and he became their anthem. Oh, he started it all. He influenced us all. They didn't even know he existed until the genre was there. Then they went back and found it. Same thing's going to happen with David. So his memory will be on forever, at least as a footnote, in every major textbook, in every major college. As long as it's American music.
Okay, so thank you. Thank you.
Rock and Roll University.
You have a low light setting. You have a low light setting.
I do.
Why don't you put it on?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charlie, and I've been writing about music since 1974 professionally. And but I was going to concerts long before that. My first concert was in Washington Square Park in 1968. I saw David Peel on the Lower East Side with Harold playing tambourine and Billy Joe White playing guitar. Right, Billy? I was a 15-year-old pot smoker, and I really thought this was really my identity. This is where I need to be. I enjoyed that concert so much that I went back the next weekend, and then the next weekend. And if people ask me, because at this point I've seen thousands and thousands of concerts and written about them in magazines, but people ask me, what was the first concert you ever went to? I think the first 20 concerts I went to were all David Peel on the Lower East Side in Washington Square Park, just every weekend. Although I don't have a funny story to tell, well, maybe I don't know. Whenever he and I would meet, he would always ask me how many times I went to see the Grateful Dead. I don't really know why, but that's one of the questions he always asked me. But we would sit even at places like Sidewalk and just talk about the music business. He was interested in how the music business operates, and I would tell him stories. The only thing I really want to tell about this is that I just want to thank David, because I did, as a 15-year-old pot smoker, I didn't know that I was going to go into the music business professionally. And it really wasn't because I enjoyed his concert so much in 1968. I think anybody who has been to a David Peel concert here can say that, well, okay, he didn't sing the greatest, it wasn't the slickest show you'd ever see, but I don't think anybody could go to a David Peel show and say they didn't have a good time, right?
When he was performing in Central Park for the Hair Festival, I was 14 or 15 years old, and I ran up to the front because I had Have a Marijuana and American Revolution, and I didn't even know he was still around. So I was already a big fan, not even knowing that, you know, the whole John Lennon thing. So I was already, you know, already in there. So the following week I'm on a train, and I have my guitar with me because I'm going to meet a friend, and he walks on the train, and he walks in and points to me like this. He's walking in. He goes, "Hey," he goes, "you were at the Hair Festival." He says, and as the person before said, "I'm in the phone book, call me up and I'll get you involved with the music scene in the village." He goes, "You write songs, bring them down." And so the following week I'm with him and I have my songs with me, and he's going over the songs with me. He goes, "You're one of the first students of my rock and roll university." So, and so he's going over songwriting with me, and next thing I know, when he was, if one of his guitar players were out at Mills Tavern when he performed, me underage would come up there and help out. And also I was lucky enough to with my band to record under his Orange Records label, which was a thrill, and also I got to perform to play on the 1984 album, and all these things that he taught me for the past 28 years. I've been teaching guitar and rock band in the city school system, and we're, you know, so the Rock and Roll University is alive and well because so many young people are learning how to play guitar, bass, and drums.
What was the name of your band?
I did the 14th Wish. That was the band at the time. 14th Thanks for that.
Some years ago, I invited
Go over it by the
Dave
light.
the Animal.
I can't. By the
I'm
light.
in the Animal.
Hey, move over by the light or we can't get a picture. All right, good. Good.
I invited Dave.
Who are you?
Where am I? Andy Animal. Andy Animal. Andy Animal. Everybody got the Andy Animal. I invited Dave a few years ago to come play at one of my hippie freak out mushroom festival things I do upstate. Nice. It's 2-day benders. Long story short, I can go on and tell you how much David Peel has affected me and touched me, but really up here because Sean Lennon sent me a poem that he wanted me to read that he wrote for David.
Sean?
Yeah, John Lennon's son, Sean.
Alright.
So he wrote a poem for David Peel. He was ahead of his time. One of a kind, hearted man. Fuck the man. Forever shine. David Peel, nothing is real. There's nothing to be strung out about. Even the president takes his medicine in the end. What you've really done, or what you've really done, you've won. Because the truth behind the sun is that we're one. We are all one. Sean "Oh No" Lennon. Yeah, I really just came up here to, he wanted me to read that, so.
There you are!
Forced me, so here I am. Forced you? Yeah, they pushed me. They said, "You got to talk. You have your story." What's your name? My name is Sumati Karen Bates, and I was fortunate enough, like many of you, to meet David when I was about 14 years old in Washington Square Park. And he had just lost his female backup singer, so he asked me to come along. A couple of weeks later, John saw us in the park, and I'm that girl in that video. If you see John Lennon, all of us on the David Frost show, that's me. And it was just sort of miraculous for me. The best thing about it, really, is that he really encouraged me. he really encouraged me a lot. I was a very, very shy kid. There was no way I would ever gotten up there in a million years if it wasn't for him saying, you can do this, you've got a great voice, you can, you know, and I wouldn't be able to stand up in here in front of all of you, you know, shaking like a leaf if it wasn't for him. I went on to work in Walter Steading's band with Andy Warhol and all that crowd. Now I sing kirtan, which is yoga chanting music. I became a yoga teacher. And I saw David not long ago, and I told him I was doing that. And he was great, you know, he just how he was. He said, thank you for keeping my friends healthy. You know? So, anyway, it's been devastating, but, you know, I want to just, I think most importantly, we have to keep his message going, you know. It's just a darn shame that marijuana is still illegal, and we gotta keep it strong. That's all I have to say. And say his message. And thank you so much, everybody. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Scott Davison. I've recently become reacquainted with Dave. The first time I met him was about 1984, where we had about a 2-hour conversation. If you can indulge me for just a second, I would like to say goodbye to David.
You get it? This is mine. That's mine. I'll call it if you want. Let's stop the
just to be behind him and looking at all the goofy smiles of the audience as we play the songs was incredible.
Move over toward the light. Toward the light.
Towards the light.
Hey, that's not what the poltergeist lady said. Anyway, so you know, playing has been like such fun. Like when I've been, you know, on the shows. It comes to mind a little anecdote when we were playing a small club from Ludlow Street. Might have been it's Gabriel's birthday. We were playing here for a birthday party. Anyway, so he's playing. They have the stage on like 1, 2, maybe 3 platforms. So he's like in the middle of the song. He's playing. All of a sudden, he takes a step over here and he falls over. Now there's a hush among the crowd. It's like, oh. You know, I know, because I hear it when I fall over. So anyway, so everyone's like, "Oh, is she all right? What happened?" So without saying anything, he gets up and it was in the middle of the song when he fell over. So he gets up, right back on shape, and he finishes the song like nothing happened. You know, amazing. I admire that so much. Well, anyway, it's been a gas for a couple of years, and I'm gonna hopefully the Lower East Side Band will continue like Bob Marley and the Wailers. The Wailers continue. We'll figure out a way to get the Lower East Side Band to continue on. So thank you very much.
I met David Peel probably in either 87 or 88. At the time, I had just started a chapter of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, at my college, which was NYU. And I met Dana Peel. Back in the late 80s, the marijuana movement was a lot smaller than it is today in many ways. But I knew of David Peel, of course, before I met him, because I was and am 87 or 88. At the time, I had just started a chapter of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, at my college, which was NYU. And I met Dana Peel. Back in the late 80s, the marijuana movement was a lot smaller than it is today in many ways. But I knew of David Peel, of course, before I met him, because I was and am a huge Beatles and John Lennon fan. And I had, I believe, both on album and 8-track, a copy of Sometime in New York City, from which New York City was taken, and knew of him before I ever met him through Dana. But, you know, I have some major passions in my life, like the Beatles, like cannabis, which is a movement I've stayed involved in, and, you know, we are actually, Dana mentioned the parade, which is Saturday, May 6th, and I don't know the exact details yet, but I do know a tribute to David is being planned for the parade. So, you know, if you come just again to say thank you to David. But the other area of my life which David and I intersected, besides the Beatles and besides cannabis, was libertarianism. I used to be very, very involved with the Libertarian Party in New York. I've sort of moved away from that now. But I went to the convention that Howard Stern was nominated. And of course, David Peel did Howard Stern's campaign theme song. And the really funny side note of this is that Howard Stern had a couple of books. The second one was called Miss America. And there's a chapter in Miss America about that Libertarian convention. And he says, he talks about David Peel, he talks about the strippers, and he's like, there was this one guy who tried to say by unanimous consent we were going to nominate me, but they shouted him down. That was actually me. Not named in the book. I kind of screwed up my parliamentary procedure. I meant to ask for acclamation, but I asked for unanimous consent. Of course, there were a lot of hardcore, long-time Libertarian Party people who weren't comfortable with the whole Howard Stern takeover. So, but the most important thing about David, and people have said this, is that he was a sweetheart. I didn't see him very often because I was like a suburban political activist, and he was a long-time denizen of the Lower East Side, which is part of how I hooked up with Dana, but he was a sweetheart. You know, the few times I did see him, he would always say, Doug, how you been? You look like the same as you did when we met in the late 80s, so young and healthy and refreshed, and he was just a super sweet guy. And, you know, just being here, I've learned so much more about him and appreciate him so much more and miss him even more. Thank you.
As one of our pot marches in the beginning. It's on, you can see that on YouTube. Can you remember that? In pot we trust. And I think it'd be a great idea for people one-on-one to pay their respects to David, if it can be done in a mellow way, because we want to give him a proper send-off to the clouds. And remember, David lives, and I want to see you bring at least 10 people each to the pot march on the 6th, because you got to show Sessions and these other idiots that we, the pot smokers, are going to prevail over the Neanderthal culture. Doesn't realize that his own relatives in the rural South all smoke pot. You mean, pot is a major staple in that part of the country. Even all rednecks smoke pot. Everybody smokes pot. But Sessions has nothing but a fascist little dope.
It's a plant.
It's a plant. And Sessions is a dope.